Okay, good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Concord, monthly meeting. Since we don't have to do a roll call since we're all here, so we could just get started, except that, one thing that I want to bring up, Stephen, and I just wanted to address it just in general so that everybody hears it as well, about submission requirements from applicants. I think if an application is not, if you don't seem it sufficient, if we don't think we have enough information, I think it's fair to say, like, let's provide it and we'll talk next month.
Yeah.
And especially with site visits, we haven't done one in a while. The last one we did was freezing cold. And nobody wanted to come out of the car. So, but we do periodic site visits if we do. So please, call a site visit if you see it's necessary. And just don't be afraid to ask for additional information. I sometimes think because I've been in the field in the development field for so long that, the site plan, it's easy to read for me, and I might not, I see stuff that other people might not see. And so don't want to go brush over, but.
Well, and we're not architects, so
Right.
if you
Well,
think there's something we should look at, we're happy to do it.
Because my background is more with the HDC, in which there was, very rigorous things related to massive looks and all
Yeah.
sorts of aesthetics.
Yeah.
Not exactly the complete same here, but there was also rigorous things related to ground plane and changing ground. Similar thing we had with the earth removal in West Concord.
Right.
Mhm.
Understanding what the topography is had a big impact on the massing of the heights. And so understanding some of that context where some of the site plans that come in, no grading on it, you think
Right.
everything's flat,
Right,
when reality is not. And we had that application a couple of meetings ago where it fell off and there's a whole story in the back
Yeah,
that was, you couldn't tell from the plans, so.
Yeah.
Just worth,
Yeah.
if I see something,
yeah,
bring it up to you and
please.
Elizabeth could ask for it or whatever.
Speak
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
speak up. So, and we can discuss this. I just wanted to bring this up because I think we're gonna do at least one site visit tonight. I just wanted to bring this up for that reason, and we can, discuss this more, make it an agenda item. But we can discuss this more later if we so, but yeah, that's.
It's clearly, case by case basis of
Yeah,
the request and the context of whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
good.
Good. So let's start off with the public hearing, 7 o'clock. Richard J. Lane II, as the applicant on behalf of David Danielle Keminester, being the owner for the renewal of a special permit on the zoning bylaw sections 5362 and 11.6 for a home occupation at 44 Derby Street. Anybody here to speak for
Yes.
the applicant?
This is Richard Lane on behalf of Dr. Cameron.
Go ahead.
I'm also here if anybody has any questions.
Go ahead. Anything you want us to?
So basically, the zoning board of appeals had previously approved the special permit for a home occupation. But the permit was set to expire within a year, and therefore we're submitting for a renewal. Dr. Cameron had some construction done in his home, so he hasn't yet started his home practice, but he expects the construction to be completed at the end of August and then would start home sessions in September.
Okay, good. So there is no, he has not received any patients at his home.
Not yet.
Okay, so because that would have been my question to the building inspector, like, have we had any complaints? But we have not had any complaints as a result, so. I think it's pretty straightforward. Do you guys have any questions? The board have any questions?
There was conditions on the previous special permit, and so the intent is that it's just a renewal, so all those conditions are still in play, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we had a correspondence from one of the neighbors, and I want to open it up to public comment here. If there's anybody here or on Zoom who wishes to speak on this application. There is none, so I close the public hearing section. So typically, what we do on renewals, you know, somebody gets a year's worth of a permit. We see whether there's any issues, and then if there's no issue, we go to a 3-year permit. In this case, when the permit hasn't acted on, I still suggest we do a 1-year permit here, right?
Yep.
Agreed, I think so.
Yeah.
So, anybody want to make a motion to that effect?
You
Run
want
it?
it?
Go ahead.
I can do it.
Yep.
I move that we approve the special permit renewal for Richard J. Lane.
Yeah. Sure. You're not officially a voting member,
Right,
but
well,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, you can make.
Okay.
Yes, you would.
Either way.
Yeah.
Okay, I move that we grant to Richard J. Lane II on behalf of David Daniel Kemister, MD, the renewal of a special permit under zoning bylaw section 5.3.6.2 and 11.6 for home occupation at 44 Derby Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Congratulations and see you again next year.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
7:05, Paul and Jennifer Defina for special permit on the zoning bylaw section 715 and 11.6 to allow a 998 square foot addition to a 1,723 square foot legal non-conforming lot, which increases the gross floor area by more than 50% and extends the non-conforming front yard setback to 35.7 feet at 72 Raymond Road.
I'm gonna let Stuart vote on this one.
Okay, you're gonna just step out and then you are gonna be a voting member on this.
Great.
Thank you. Anybody here to speak for the applicant or?
Yes, my wife and I are applicants for the property. We're looking to increase the size of our home. We have a growing family. I work from home. And it's currently non-conforming, and thinking of the aesthetic of the neighborhood, that's how we came up with the design, which extends the non-conformity.
Okay, can we pull up a plan, either Elizabeth or Christine?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Yeah. Thank you. For people who don't know, this is Elizabeth Hughes, she's the town planner, so. So this is the lot in the cul-de-sac, right? That's
That's correct.
has a shape that goes very much towards the rear. And can you speak to what you're doing here for
Sure.
a second?
So if you can see on the left side, there's currently a single garage. We're looking to take down the single garage and make it a 2-car garage. It's non-conforming in the front. We would extend out, when you look at the next pictures of the front view, a farmer's porch, which is what continues the non-conformity, and then extending in the back, a larger living room. So it would be a primary suite with a bathroom and laundry, 2-car garage, and a family room, and making a mudroom.
Good, thank you. Do you have any questions from the board here?
So the only non-conforming is the addition of the porch,
Correct, and it's currently non-conforming with the front of the house.
but all other aspects extend backwards and are in conformance.
Everything's within conformance aside from the extra spring.
Right, and then the
Great.
50% increase.
Increased size, yeah.
Mhm.
We're okay?
Yeah.
Any, wanna recognize the public here, if there's any, if from the public who wish to speak, I do want to note that we had, I believe, 3 letters from abutters.
2 letters.
2 letters from abutters,
Awesome.
and they were very much in favor of this proposal. So if there's anybody else who wants to speak on this, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment section of this hearing and bring it back to the board.
I think it looks like a thoughtful renovation and it seems to be in line with everything we've asked for.
Right, and it, you know, it fits in the neighborhood, like
Yep.
the homes around it, et cetera. I saw it last month, actually, but.
I think it's in scale. I think the addition is behind, so it doesn't have an impact on the street.
Mhm.
The nonconformity of the porch and the cul-de-sac, you're literally very minor. So.
And
And
it only,
It's keeping with the,
and it adds
adds to the
to
house.
the architecture of the house. So, that all said,
Now can I do it?
also, and the one thing, and I will calm that up. You know, that's my pet peeve, and I think it almost becomes a standard condition these days, which it should be, is that we need to do some more stormwater infiltration, right? Stormwater management is, you know, we have now the stormwater management bylaw in town, et cetera. So there will be a condition that, you know, the increase in impervious area will need to be dealt with. You know, you can't just cheat it off. You will have to contain it, infiltrate it, and just, you know, an engineer can easily help you with that, and even a builder. So that there is some measure of stormwater management, and there's a condition that everybody pretty much gets in their permits, so.
Okay. I move to approve the special permit application for Paul and Jennifer Defina for a special permit under zoning bylaws, section 7.1.5 and 11.6 to allow a 998 square foot addition to a 1,723 square foot legal non-conforming lot, which increases the gross floor area by more than 50% and extends the non-conforming front yard setback to 35.7 feet at 72 Raymond Road.
I second that motion.
All those in favor,
And if
Yeah.
I can add based on the findings and conditions.
based on the findings and conditions.
And I also
That's it.
second that.
And that's seconded, and all those in
Thank you.
favor? Aye, thank you, congratulations.
Great.
You can stay, or you can, you can send your neighbor back in.
That's a good one. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Neighbor, is he come back in?
Yeah, it went well.
You didn't have your wife write a letter? Okay, 7:10, Paul Mahoney Architects, on behalf of Henry Dane, the owner, for a special permit on the zoning bylaws, section 4221, 627, 6213, 713, and 11.6 to allow the conversion of an existing carriage house with a non-conforming site setback to an additional dwelling unit. That actually should read a second dwelling unit that exceeds the allowable GFA and FAR at 60 Everett Street. Before, no, actually, let's go to Paul.
Sure.
Paul or Henry, go ahead, who wants to do a presentation or explain all that you are asking?
Both. So I'm Paul Mahoney from Mahoney Architects, and I'm working with Henry Dane, who's the owner at 60 Everett Street. And so what I thought I would do is give you a simple overview of the project, sort of explain the context, the objectives, what the design is, and then I can explain the different parts of the code that we're asking for various reliefs from. So Elizabeth, if you could pull up the photos. Okay, so this is the view from the street. 60 Everett Street is the house behind the trees on the left. And the project we're talking about is the barn at the back that's existing with the two red doors. That's right. So you can scroll down. That just gets a little closer. You can see the fence on the right lot line and whoop, there you go. Keep going down if you can, Elizabeth. Great. So here's a view from behind the main house, looking at the barn. So it's an existing typical barn structure. It's got this sort of lean-to piece on the left. And maybe you can go down again. So this is a view from the rear of the property, looking back at that structure that we're talking about and the house behind. So right now, Henry lives in the front house. And what he would like to do is create a living unit for himself in this back barn building. And that building and the house predate zoning. So I think the barn has been there since 1920, I believe. Circa
1920.
1920, okay. And
I was moved there in 1920 from Walden, I think from Walden Street.
Yep.
So it's even older than that.
Yep. And Elizabeth, if you could pop up not the survey plan, but there's a sort of a site plan of the neighborhood. So this is just a GIS plan of the neighborhood, and you can see in gray is the property that we're talking about. And I'm sure you're familiar with this neighborhood, but just in context, it's a neighborhood of many single-family homes, several two-family homes, some homes that have separate secondary dwelling units behind them, and some areas of multifamily. So to the right of the gray lot is another traditional home with a carriage house behind it as a second detached dwelling unit. Across the street is a two-family unit. One lot behind is Peter Buckley, which is a large number of dwelling units. And then to the right, one lot over is Everett Gardens, which is a series of 7 multifamily buildings. So it's a residential neighborhood with a variety of unit types in it. And the parcel that Henry has is actually one of the larger parcels in the neighborhood, 17,000 and change square feet. The majority of the abutting properties are smaller. It's zoned for 10,000 square feet. So this is significantly larger lot than required for the neighborhood. So that's kind of like overview of what's there and what the neighborhood is like. And you saw the barn building. So Elizabeth, if you could go to the plans, I can briefly show you what the floor plans are looking like. So if you could zoom in on that right diagram. The right side, yeah, right there. That's great. So this is my site diagram. There's a survey that shows all the specific dimensions, but this gives you the overview of the site. So you can see the existing building at the front and where we're proposing the barn to be relocated at the back and how parking would likely work for the front building and the back building. The existing barn has basically 2 garage bays in it where those cars are shown, and those would remain as car bays, and there's a small shop area behind those. And then on the left is where that lean-to type structure is that you saw in the photographs. And if you slide over to the left side of that sheet, Elizabeth, these shaded diagrams show where we are expanding this building. So the lower plan is the first floor plan. And you can see to the left of that stairs, a large white area. That's an existing 1-story lean-to. We're proposing that we sort of extrude that to the back, fill in that left rear corner with additional first floor space. And then on the second floor, The white area is what is existing as over 6'8" right now, so defined as usable area by the code. The shaded areas are what we are proposing to become usable area. And what we're doing here to not increase the mass of this building any more than we need to is that we are lowering the structures, the floor structures that are inside that shell. So right now, this building on the first floor, the garage bays have a wooden floor like you'd find in a barn, and you sort of drive up 8 inches, I think, onto that platform. So we're gonna lower that down to meet grade and put a concrete slab in, so we get more height that way. And then the existing second floor area of the barn, we are also lowering, I think, by 1'3" So by doing that, we can create space within the existing mass of the building and minimize the height of the dormers that we're adding to create the space we're trying to create. So we're adding space to this building, but we're also capturing more space by adjusting the floor levels inside the existing mass. So if you can go down to the floor plans, Elizabeth. I'm gonna skip by this. This is just floor plan and roof plan. You can go down to the next one. So this is the lower level floor plan. So the garage will stay on the right as it is now. And on the left-hand side, we'll use a portion of that existing building for an entry and a 3/4 bath and a little wet bar area. And then the area behind will remain as a flex room. So various uses like painting and media, music, listening, things like that. And then the stairs built inside the mass of the barn, and that goes upstairs. So if you slide to the right in that drawing, you see the second floor. Right. Yep. There we go. So you come up the stairs. Now we're within the mass of the barn itself. And what we're doing is we're adding a shed dormer on the left and a shed dormer on the right. And then we can capture enough space to create this living unit, which will have 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen, and a small living space. And then off the back will be a small deck and a stair that wraps around the corner for a second means of egress. So that's how the plans work. If you can go down to the next drawing, please. So this is included just to diagrammatically show you how we're lowering the floors. So on that right-hand drawing, you can see some dashed lines at the first floor and the second floor. Those are the existing heights of the floors. And then the new solid lines show you where we're dropping those floors down. And then you can see the shapes of the dormers that we're adding on each side. So we're creating an 8-foot ceiling in that space, but at the edges of the dormers, we're clipping the ceilings down to a lower height, just again to keep the scale of those dormers as reasonable as we can. I think now, Elizabeth, if you can go to the elevations. So these are the elevations of the project. So that's the elevation from the street, the front of the barn, where you've got the 2 garage doors remaining, the single window above remaining, the little person door to the left remains, and then that grid of material to the left of the door is just going to be a lattice work for growing plants. The right side elevation shows the shed dormer on that side with the stair to the back left. And to the back right, I'm sorry, in that drawing. And if you go down to the next elevation. So this is the rear elevation of the barn. So you can see the deck at the second floor. We're proposing to do that with a half wall just for privacy of the user of the living space as well as neighbors. So the deck would have a 36-inch high half wall around it. And you can see the shed dormers on each side of that elevation. And then the bottom drawing is the left side of the structure. So on the first floor, we're extending that 1-story roof to the back corner and then adding the shed dormer above. And there's a series of windows there. The 3 at the right are related to a bedroom, and the 5 at the left are next to where the stair comes up and bring light into that living space. I think that's the last drawing on that one, Elizabeth. I can't remember. Anything below? Oh, so this is just a comparative, before and after, so you can see each of the elevations as they exist at the top, and then what we're proposing directly below them. So I think just to summarize, what we're proposing is to take this existing structure, put a dwelling unit into it, add a small addition at the first floor at the rear left, and add a shed dormer to each side of the barn.
And move it.
And move it. Yes, thank you. Good point. So why don't we look at the survey, Elizabeth, and I can describe that. So the red area is the proposed location, and the dark area, black lines in front of it, are the existing. So right now that structure is about 3 feet plus or minus off the right lot line. We're proposing that it be 6 feet off the right lot line. And we're proposing to move it further back on the lot. And the setbacks are such that this would be conforming on the left-hand side and the rear to zoning setbacks. And on the right side, it would be non-conforming, but less non-conforming than it currently is now. So we're improving upon that non-conformity and not creating any new non-conformities at the rear or the left. So that's the big picture on the project. And there are several requests we have that we've outlined in the narrative that I can walk you through. But before I do that, do you have any questions on what I presented?
I don't have any questions on the architecture. Anybody on the board, any direct questions there?
I have several.
Can I say a few words about
Sure,
why I want to do this?
sure, sure.
Unlike the rest of you, I'm not getting any younger. I've lived in Concord and been active in Concord for the past 60 years. I really want to stay where I am. Not only stay in Concord, but stay in the environment in which I've lived for now in the last 25 years, which allows me to do a lot of things that I like to do. And that is do woodworking, work on boats, have a workshop, and so on. So what I want to do is I now live in the house in front, which is much bigger than what I need, being living by myself. And also has a great deal of economic value that is, first of all, costing me a great deal of money in taxes every year to support, but also something that provides some equity that gives me the funds to be able to do this work on the garage and find a more suitable place for me to live as I get older, and to be able to at the same time realize the value of my large house that is increased in value over the years and gives me basically my retirement. I'm only 89 and still working hard every day, but I don't know how long I continue to do that. And I very much want to live in a viable kind of living space and do not sink into assisted living or one of those other things that people do. I don't think I could survive in that environment. And also, where this is located is like a 5-minute walk from my work and for all of my other activities. So it makes a lot of sense to be able to do this, and that provision of the bylaw, the 4221, which allows the conversion of a structure that was pre-zoning into a single or two-family dwelling, seems to work very, very well with it in this context, because and we made a real effort to make what we're doing look identical to what is there now in all the details, and all of the increases, or 90% of the increases inside, not outside, even the increase in the inside is through, by means of dormers. Rather than by adding on to the building. The building stays the same size, stays the same height, it looks the same, but it essentially, the sides of the roof, the wings are opened up to give that additional space to give me a couple of bedrooms and a convenient place to live and someplace to keep all my books and my records and my music and all that stuff, and live in the same place and still be able to say, realize the value of the large house that I've lived in for 20 years. So it seems to me for it to be a perfect solution, and it's very consistent with the object of the town to provide more housing for older people, more housing that is smaller and more convenient, more energy efficient. And without really increasing density, this does not increase the density by any amount. So that it fits into the neighborhood. It's if we move it, it's only in order to actually improve the aesthetics and the massing. It is 1.5 feet from the property line on one side. It's it makes sense if we're gonna rebuild it to move it away from the property line, I think. And if we can move it back, it means that there's more breathing space and the lot looks a lot better in terms of the lot coverage of not having buildings as close together as they are now. So I think it all works and it makes a lot of sense to me anyway, and I very eager to be able to do this.
Great, thank you. Did you have-
Sorry,
Stephen, you had some architectural questions?
I was gonna go on to the zoning questions, but go ahead if you've got specifics.
So you're increasing the impervious surface with the additional parking?
Correct,
And so now you'll have how many parking spaces, including the 2 in the garage?
5.
5, okay. You're moving it simply to add that stair into the side? Or are you moving it, you're moving it a lot farther back,
Yes,
which is giving you more space for the additional parking?
yeah, I think it doesn't go further than allowed to the rear,
Right,
and it, in our opinion, creates a more positive relationship between the two structures on the side.
right. Is there a solution in which you make it conforming by moving it further away from the side?
That's possible.
I mean, you're moving it a little bit.
Yep.
How much more would you have to move it to make it conforming?
I think we'd have to move it another 9 feet. Maybe less if we use the 3-foot exception. I'd have to double check that.
So
Yeah.
the point that you made about you're moving it, you're doing a lot to move it. You could move it into conformity.
Good.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not saying, that's
Yeah.
required, but it's an
Right.
option, right?
Well, I think that's a point of discussion, right? Because you're also changing the use.
Right.
It was an accessory structure, it is an accessory structure now, and you're gonna make it a residential use now.
Right.
So it's, I'm still wrapping my head around all of this.
Right.
But I think the fact that you're changing use is very important.
Well, the other one I would come back to is we're assuming it's an existing building
Mhm.
that is already on a parcel and it's under this zoning, it's thought of as part of the same buildings because it's pre-existing.
Right.
You are taking out you're removing most of the roof. You're moving it, you're putting a new foundation in, you're taking all the internal floor structures out. How much of that is, at what point, from the building code point of view, is it no longer an existing building and it's a new building? And if it's a new building, does that then
Right.
preclude you from using that zoning section to create a new building?
Mhm.
That's a technical thing. I don't know. the answer to.
But those are sort of the legal
Yeah.
stuff, zoning stuff that I
Yeah.
wanna just wait on because I think, but
Well, essentially, it's a mixed use. If it's Because it will remain a garage with an apartment. Oh,
No, it's not a mixed use. It's an accessory structure. Garage is an accessory structure and it's a second residence on a single lot. But we'll get there later. My question to you, Paul, is what's the square footage of the building? The new building?
The
that
new
is-
building. 1 second. So the new building in total is 2262.
Okay,
And that includes both living space and garage and shop. So if you take out the garage space and the shop space, the living space is 1495.
1495, so we did.
Okay, so just under
It
1500.
would never qualify for an additional, for an ADU, so.
Yeah.
Okay, that's also important to know.
Yep.
How much is the footprint increasing? You said you're,
The footprint
You're
is
blowing out the
increasing
lean-to.
by 172 square feet.
it's a minor footprint.
Yeah, the footprint is
Pretty
minor,
much, yeah.
and the dormers on the second floor add 613 square feet.
Right.
So I was gonna start there, because I think that's important in the context of like, what is this project really about? Aside from the use changes that you're noting, like from a square foot basis, what are we really talking about here? So it's 172 footprint expansion, and then 2 dormers, which will create 613 square feet of additional space above 6'8".
And while they're not increasing the height, they're increasing the mass.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Because the side that's facing, I guess it's north, your neighbors on the north, the side you're closest to on the property line, right?
Yes,
The side of the existing building is basically a blank building and a roof. It has
Correct.
no activity, no light, no nothing
correct.
that's affecting them directly.
It has 1 dormer, but it's not
Yeah,
providing light. I think
right,
it's,
but now you're activating that side.
Yep.
That's why I was thinking, if you're activating it and you're moving it,
right.
a little more breathing room might
Sure.
reduce the impact of it.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep, I don't think that is a bad point, and we're not, hung up on it has to be in this
Yeah, you
location.
just, I'm trying
Yeah.
to see how it fits, that's all. I don't, it's hard for me to tell what the neighbor's relationship is, given the plans, that's all.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So let me give you a brief overview of the 4 points that we're addressing with you on the zoning. So in all of these points, rather than repeat it, I will simply say that all of these, in our opinion, are within the spirit of the bylaw and not detrimental to the context of the neighborhood. We think it's a reasonably well-designed project that'll look in many ways largely like what is there. And so I think that's true for all of these issues. So there's 4 issues, and I'll be brief on these and you can go back and dig into them, and happy to explain them further. But the first one is a special permit for the second dwelling unit in an existing space. So this is part of section 4.2.2.1 that states that existing structures that essentially predate zoning can have dwelling units in them. So we're pointing to that, saying that's what allows us to have this. That same section also says that the gross floor area can be expanded by 20%. And we're asking for relief from that. We would like to ask to be allowed for an additional 490 square feet. So this is all in my summary, but you're allowed 295, and we would like to exceed that by an additional 490 square feet. I think some of these numbers, you can look at them 2 ways. You can look at them from a percentage basis and a square foot basis. And the percentage basis in some of these instances can seem large because the building is small to begin with. So we're starting with a small building, and 20% of that is not a lot. It only allows us 295 square feet. So that's partly why we're asking for this additional, is that it's, we're starting with a small building and we need that to create enough space to create the living unit that Henry is seeking to have. So that's the first area we're asking for. The second area is side yard relief. So in one way, this is pretty straightforward. It's a certain number of feet from the lot line, and we want to move it further away from the lot line, but still being non-conforming. So in one perspective, we're reducing the nature of that non-conformity, but I think Theo brings up a good point, which is if this is going to be a residential use, then maybe this should comply with the 15-foot setback. And I think that's something that
Could be 13 because we have it on the, more space on the other side.
right, 12, I think. Yeah. Okay, so anyways, that's the second point. We're asking for side yard relief, and depending on how the discussion goes, that may or may not still be something we need. The third is FAR relief. So we would like to request an additional 565 square feet of FAR. The existing FAR on the site is 5,164. We are proposing 5,946, and the allowable is 5,381. So we need relief for that additional 565 square feet above the allowable. And the last relief is for GFA, gross floor area. So the existing barn building is 1477 square feet. And the building code allows, or the zoning code allows for a 50% increase to that by section 7.15. Which would allow for a building to be 2,210 square feet. We're proposing a building of 2,262 square feet, which is 52 square feet above that. So that's also something that we're asking for relief from. So those four areas are really, I think, what we're talking about in relation to your work.
Great, thank you. I mean, we asked some architecture questions. I think I want to save the zoning questions for later in the discussion and open it up to public comments for now. Then I'd like to bring it back. And then I'd like to go point by point, just because there is an awful lot to chew on here for us and to digest. So and I think once we get public comment, we can then just go through each request and see how that fares in the discussion. So that said, I want to open it up to public comment. I also want to know that late this afternoon, we got a letter in from an abutter. So I don't know whether you had the time to read it, whether you were on the road and just missed the email. I saw it, I read the letter. So if anybody here or on Zoom wants to speak, please raise your hand. Let me know what you want to say. Ma'am, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Yes. Bonnie Levine, I'm in a butter.
And address?
The floor area ratio.
Which address, please?
Excuse me,
What's your address?
149 Stowe Street.
Thank you.
My house backs up to Henry's.
Okay, yeah.
So should I stand up here and talk? It's better probably if I stand up too.
You.
Some stuff I have to hold, so it might be easier if I'm at the table.
All right.
Just so I can talk, and put my stuff down.
Yeah,
It's not falling
I like
on the
it.
floor while I'm talking. So what I did here, I noticed that I'll stand over here so people can see me over here.
Yeah,
I don't like
good.
to have my back to the
Good,
audience.
good, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so,
There's no good, by the way, there's no good place to stand.
There we
Wherever you stand, it's odd, so,
yes.
but go ahead.
I wanted to say at the beginning that we're very fond of Henry. He's a great guy and, we really are glad to have him in the neighborhood. I've known him for a long time. I've lived in my house 36 years, so, and 14 years with my parents, so 50 years altogether I lived in Concord. So anyway, what I did was, there was no gross floor area done for the whole parcel. So I did that, and I'm a realtor. I work for Keller Williams. I used to work for Caldwell, so I'm used to doing these because when I sell a house, people always want to know if they can expand it. So I'm used to doing them, and so I took it to Kevin today at the building department. He was kind of busy, and then the architect came along, so he knows a little bit about my question. And so what I came to is I used, traditionally we use what the town has on their property records and field cards for the gross area. So in this case, with Henry's house, first floor was 1,534, and the second floor was 1,230. This is gross, and the attic floor was also 1,230. However, I think that one might need to be checked because it was 923 for the living area. So that means you might not have everything at or above the 6.8. So you always really want to check those because this will make a difference if it's less. And then there's the garage. And the garage is listed on the town's records as an outbuilding for 864 square feet. And the architect is putting a number in there of 1,477 square feet for the garage. So that's another one that we would want checked to make sure that it's accurate, because anything that's off on this column, of gross living area is going to impact the calculation. So anyway, so then what I did on the other side was I stuck with the 1,534, the 1,230 and the 1,230. And then it was pretty apparent from the write-up that they were planning to demolish the existing garage and go in at the 2262, the new build. That's pretty much what everything's that, even including what the architect wrote, So that came to 6,256 square feet when I added those up. And existing was 4,858. So then I did the calculation of you really can't go with the middle part because it's non-conforming. It requires a special permit because of the side setbacks problems. So that's irrelevant in this case. And so then when I calculated it with the land, and there's two parcels and they totaled 17,556. So I did that and I followed the, how you calculate it. And I came to that the maximum floor area ratio allowed is 5,413 square feet. And this total with Henry's 2262 is 6,256. So that's a shortfall of 843 square feet. So then I took his 2262 square feet of the proposed new build, and I subtracted the 843, and it comes to you could build something that's like 1,419 square foot, and I'm not even sure. I wasn't researching the whole thing about the ADU versus the new build, so I'm not really saying that the new build is allowable. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't meet the FAR. And what the architect did was he did a FAR with the 1477, which was a dimension that was not on the town's record. And then he said that he just calculated the whole land on that, which doesn't make sense. You have to put the whole parcel in there. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to do all the land on this one garage. That's not the way it works. And so I feel that what we need to do before we pass any judgment on the size of this thing that would be allowable is we have those measured, the attic area to see how much actually does qualify in the GFA, and the same thing for the existing garage. And then we could, once we've seen those and they're measured and we know that we have, equal or exceeded the 6 feet 8 inches, then we can really talk about what he can do, because this number could come down, it could go up, because we haven't been able to measure that. So that's where I stand on this. And, I'm going to let my other abutters talk to the others, but mine was really running the numbers. And I have copies for this, I wrote a letter that goes with it, so I can hand out all that to you.
If you have it electronically, can you send it to Kim?
Yeah.
And then
I'll send
Kim
it to
can,
you.
we'll see it on the website and everybody.
Good. And then I can give you all the backup that I used
Sure.
from the town. I think that would be the best way. Thank you.
Terrific,
Thank
thank
you
you,
very
thank
much.
you.
Okay.
But it is noted, and I think, we'll come back to this once we go through every section of the request that have been made. Anybody else wants to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Ernest Saracen. For the past 30 years, my wife, Carol.
Address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I live at 155 Stowe Street, immediately next to Henry Dane. We've never had any problems with Mr. Dane, but we strongly object to his application, which we believe is really aimed at tearing down the existing carriage house and constructing a new home that would be 50% larger, even using, not using Ms. Levine's number, but using the architect's numbers, 50% larger from 1,477 square feet to estimated 2,262 square feet. None of our houses is that large, and this is not acceptable. The application states that the carriage house would be moved, and then and Mr. Mahoney said that, but we don't believe that this is feasible. We don't believe that the carriage house is structurally sound and would not withstand an attempted move. We took a picture today of the side on the others. Mr.
Mahoney. Should actually come to us.
Yes, I'm giving him a courtesy copy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We took a picture of the side elevation, and we believe that this structure is not sound. And clearly, I don't think Mr. Dane really has in mind to move it. We believe he wants to build a brand new house for himself, sell his current home, and it's important to remember that this carriage house is not a house, it's a garage. And if this were approved, there'd be two homes on this lot where there was one. And we think that there's too much wiggle room in the application, which states that the board should, quote, recognize that the building may be relocated, rebuilt as determined as practical. We think it's already been determined that this carriage house can't be moved. And the only alternative is to demolish the present carriage house and construct a new home. We have other objections. We think this new structure would violate the purpose of concurrent zoning and subdivision laws, as Mr. Chair suggested. As a result of a new construction, there would be two houses on one lot, on one relatively small lot of 17,000 square feet. Allowing another construction of another home would increase congestion, and the purpose of the zoning and the subdivision laws is to not increase congestion. And this is not acceptable. A new structure would also not have a good impact on the neighborhood. The presence of two homes on this relatively small lot, we believe, will significantly lower property values for all the abutting houses, especially for the Welches. Mr. Welch is sitting next to me, he's gonna speak, whose home would suddenly, after 30 years, suffer a major loss of privacy, light, and sight lines. The application statement that the additions are not detrimental to the overall characteristics of the neighborhood, we don't believe, with all respect, that's not true. It wouldn't be an improvement to the neighborhood, it would be a detriment. Increasing the floor area ratio, we don't believe that's a reasonable alternative to the present structure. Contrary to the legal notice from the board, I don't mean to criticize, but this is not an additional dwelling unit under section 4.2.2. It's a second dwelling unit, and Mr. Mahoney points that out in his application. If it were an ADU, its size would be limited to 750 square feet, which would be much more acceptable. Instead, the new house would be 2,262 square feet, 3 times that size. We also don't believe, I question rather, whether the construction of a large second home is really consistent with the meaning and the purpose of section 4.2.2.1 of the zoning bylaws. I think that this section permits only the creation of a two-family home, not the construction of a second standalone home. Thank you for listening to our objections. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Pleasure. You're next.
I'm Daniel Welch. I live at 141 Stowe Street. I have been there 30 years, and I want to say I've enjoyed being Henry's neighbor. I appreciated his service to the town. He's been also a good neighbor in the neighborhood. There are a number of issues that come up for us as the abutters. I just wanted to run through some issues that came up. The first question I just wanted to clarify was there was some comment made that since the structure was existing when the zoning laws came into being, it's therefore exempt from 4.2.2.1. Is that correct? Is that what the legal counsel would say?
It's not exempt from, it's exempt from.
It's not exempt from, it's therefore the argument that the applicant is making, it's therefore allowable to have a second unit on the lot. It's a second
Even though 4.2.
residence on the lot, and that is, yeah. So, go ahead.
So my only question is the date of when that was actually on there. I look back at the deed that conveyed the property to the owners before the owners that Mr. Dane bought them from. It was in 1907, August 12, 1907, and in that deed were 5 restrictions. One of which was there would only to be one building on that lot. The restrictions were in place for 35 years. And I have a copy of the deed here. And so that would be 1942 by my calculation. So if the building was put there beforehand, it may not matter anymore because it's been such a long time. But I just want to raise that point with the zoning board that there was a 35-year restriction, only allowed a single building or a carriage house for horses. Those are the 2 things, and no pigs or chickens either. But
I'm too happy about that one.
It specified a 2-family home, not less than $3,000. So I think one of the core procedural issues for me is the application is being made under the wrong section of the zoning bylaw, because as has been said, 2.2.1 applies to 2-family dwellings where both units are contained within the same principal building, sharing a common wall or floor. The carriage house is detached from the main residence and will remain detached even after relocation. And so the proposal does meet, we think it does meet the definition of an ADU. And one of our questions is we like Mr. Dane to reconsider and put it under that, which has more relevant restrictions. It has stricter requirements on dimension, maximum square footage, etc. Moving or rebuilding this building is another issue for us. We don't think the building can be moved as is. It's gonna have a new foundation, a new second floor, additional first floor space, new dormers. They're moving the structure 27 feet, which I'll talk more about in a minute. And it amounts to substantial reconstruction. And so I think that's an issue that we would ask that the scope of the changes breaks the link to any existing building status that might be claimed by the applicant under 4.2.2.1. I think it triggers new construction. We'd like to trigger new construction requirements. The applicant's own notes leave the door open for demolition and full rebuild. The narrative is the ability to move the building as opposed to rebuilding will not be entirely clear until the construction begins. And this creates a risk, we believe. One, they'll secure approval for a move and modify project under 4.2.2.1. Claim during the work that the building can't be moved. Or can't be moved, it has to be rebuilt, and tear down the structure and build a new one, all while keeping the special permit in place. And so this would circumvent zoning rules and could permanently lock in non-conforming features without a full review. So we'd like to ask the ZBA to potentially consider some specific restrictions if they're to approve it under 4.2.2.1. There are a number of cumulative non-conformities. That 4 have been mentioned. In looking around, there is the state of Massachusetts has some concerns about stacking non-conformities, and we'd really like the board to think about what those issues mean. Each one by itself is not too bad, but by stacking them, it creates a real burden on neighbors and makes it harder for us to, I think, to not suffer some detrimental effects on the mouth of override. We're also concerned that the precedent risk approving here will make it far harder to deny similar multifamily, multi-relief requests in our neighborhood. The neighborhood is changing. We just want to make sure we can protect the general status of the neighborhood. Special permit, as we understand, it can only be granted if the project is not detrimental to the neighborhood and consistent with the intent of the bylaw. The increased bulk and mass of this building, and the fact that it's gonna be placed right in front of our bedroom and in front of our backyard, it's gonna be significantly higher. I'm not an artist, but I put together a picture that basically showed where we now have trees and a distant view to our neighbors. What we're gonna see is 8 sets of dormer windows with bright lights, another set of 6 down on the first floor. There'll be additional noise, there's gonna be a porch out there, and it's essentially gonna be in our face, in our both our bedroom and our seating area. And moving it away from the farthest, from the other sideline will bring it that much closer to us. And it's a significant increase. If you look at the way the building looks now from our lot versus what it will look like as proposed, it is extremely detrimental. So the character of the privacy, is gonna affect, privacy is gonna be affected. And, the precedent here invites similar large detached conversions in small lot neighborhoods. And I don't think that's what the intent is of these laws. There are alternatives, and we would support alternatives such as an ADU. That would be something that the town has worked hard on to provide those things. We have friends and neighbors who've done that. And it's worked very, very well. This proposal asks for multiple layers of relief to build a large detached dwelling unit in place of a garage, while avoiding the rules that were written specifically for detached accessory units. Moving and modifying a detached building doesn't make it part of the main house, and it certainly doesn't erase the protection the zoning bylaws gives to neighbors. The applicant's own note suggests they may fully rebuild. Without conditions to prevent that, the door is open to sidestep zoning intent. The right path for the applicant is to refile under 4.2.2.2 and work within those limits. And so we would request that the zoning board ask the applicant to refile under the appropriate section. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, I appreciate all those comments. Anybody else in the audience wanting to speak?
This is Jim Atwood participating online. Can I be heard?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm in a butter. My name is James Atwood. I live at 133 Stowe Street. And Mr. Dane's property abuts the side of my backyard. And my only comment is, in addition to changing the more open character of that area, is I've got a 50-year-old Concord grapevine, and by Mr. Dane moving his coach house much closer to my fence, I'm worried about sunshine for my old stand of grapes.
Okay. Cool, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you for your comments. Anybody in the audience still? Nobody here, so I'll close at least definitely for now the public comment section and bring it back to the board. There is a lot to unpack and a lot to chew on here in my mind, and I think some of the butters brought up some good comments, actually some items that I was that I have been struggling with and I'm struggling with. So first of all, and I think we should just go down the list unless you have any other suggestions, and start with the first relief, which I think is the big hurdle in my mind, at least, is 4221.
One of the, I think the max bar is another big hurdle.
Yeah. But this is like, if
This is like fundamental question, right?
this is a fundamental question here. So I've been reading and rereading this section. And I want to see what the board thinks, whether the board, I am struggling with the fact that this section allows the applicant to have two separate residential structures on a lot. If I read this section, I think the residential structures need to be connected with a sidewall. That's how I read it. And I'm absolutely open to any suggestions and willing to discuss this and willing to be convinced that I'm wrong. But that's where I am. That's what my thought is at the moment.
You're saying you must be connected.
Yeah, that's how I read it
That's
too.
how I read it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because otherwise, right, like you have an old shed in the back, now you can build a second house.
right.
And even if you were allowed to, I don't think we can waive the 1/5 of the GFA.
Yeah, but that's
But yeah.
that's but this said any additions to create an additional dwelling unit pursuant to the sections shall be integral to and part of the existing building without use of a tunnel or pergola and share a common wall or floor with the existing building.
Yeah, and I would say that it says the existing building, not an existing building, is a key difference.
Yeah,
And I think I would look at the heading of this section, which says two-family for ADU, right? I think
Right.
4221 is about two-family homes or a two-family dwelling.
So
which to
can
me
I jump in here?
Yeah,
So the zoning bylaw you have in front of you, is not the most up to date because we have not heard back from the Attorney General. So one of the zoning bylaw amendments that was passed in June, you have 4221, which is an additional dwelling unit. 4222 deals with ADUs, which are returned as accessory dwelling units. The distinction is an accessory dwelling unit is accessory to a single family dwelling. They cannot be legally separated or sold. An additional dwelling unit does mean a second dwelling unit. They are separate, and there actually are ways under subdivision control law to divide out a structure that gets converted to a dwelling unit. If it's placed on the lot before it was put into a single residence district. So for this area, that's going to be in 1928, not the plans state, the plans that were submitted say prior to 38, and that's incorrect. Zoning was adopted in 1928 in Concord. So I think the first question, my recommendation to the board is that there needs to be verification on when this structure was placed on this lot and if it was placed on the lot prior to 1928. If it was, then the applicant can use section 4221. I can tell you there are previous decisions issued by the board. This very similar case where it was a detached barn. It got moved and the board required a structural report verifying that the structure can actually be moved so that it retains that it is an existing building that stays the existing building and verify when that structure was placed on the property. But ultimately, yes, under that section, somebody could convert a building. That section of the bylaw does not say a dwelling. It says a building existing at the time the lot is placed in a single residence district. To Robbie's point, the next section says you can do an addition up to 1/5. It's my opinion that this section of the bylaw, there isn't a waiver provision. It does not state the board can waive that 1/5 limitation. So if it specifically does not say it can be waived, then it's my opinion that relief can only be granted through a variance. The third section deals with any additions to create an additional dwelling unit pursuant to this section shall be integral and part of the existing building. So it doesn't say it has to be integral and part of an existing dwelling. It's only talking about the addition for that building. So I don't think the barn has to then be converted to an additional dwelling unit and connected to the single family dwelling. It's just that addition has to be part of it.
Could you
So
have
this is
four
just,
on a lot
this is
then?
just my opinion, and going on what I recall, the previous application that utilized this section that I remember is from somewhere back like in 2010. So I would have to look into this. I also think there was litigation surrounding that application in 2010. So a lot of the questions that the board is asking now about this section, there may be an opinion as part of that case talking about that. So that is something that the board, that we could look into further.
I just noticed on one thing might be relevant, I'm not sure, is that it was converted from a two-family.
So I'm gonna have Theo bring it back to the board.
No, yes,
Still the board here.
That's, so, but this whole point is also moot when the barn can't be moved, right? When a new foundation and a new building is going to be built, then it's not a structure that was on the lot before 1928, right? So the prerequisite here would be that there is no rebuilding. You gotta use the barn, no matter what. And you gotta use the existing structure. And I would like to get, this, depending where we're going with this, but we would like to at least know whether it's structurally possible. You would like to know whether that's structurally possible. And you have enough experience, Paul, that I bet you have a good indication of where this would go and how you can use this existing structure or not.
I mean, I would say that anything is possible. You could move a building that is literally falling down if you reinforced it before you moved it. This
Right.
building obviously is not new. It has sags and warps in it and walls that aren't true. But if your objective was to put the building up on cribbing and sliding across the lot and put a new foundation in, you can definitely do it.
Yeah.
You might have to do some reinforcing on the inside to do that. You'd have to do that. But yes, you could physically move this building.
Yeah, and when does an existing building become a new building then?
That's a good question too.
Foundation, windows, doors,
Well-
interior, dormers, additions.
Yeah. So, I've seen that addressed in different ways in different places. And also it's a matter of time. People repair buildings over time and over many years. What was there physically looks the same, but it's had siding replaced, it's had windows replaced, it's had a new roof, they've replaced beams, sheathing, all sorts of things take place in buildings to maintain them over time.
Right,
So at what point is it no longer the building that was there, but essentially is the same building over time? That's a question,
In-
like how can you, are you allowed to?
in this
compress-
case, you had the structure and there is some modification to that structure,
Right.
but it's been there, the walls have been there,
Right.
it's, the envelope has been there. And I don't think, by the looks of it, not too much has changed.
Right.
Since 1928.
Yeah.
But, the modifications that now are being proposed are significant. And the question then is when, and especially since you state, and since one of the questions that is asked for us to give you pretty much, the go ahead to just tear it down and build something new. And then it's, you know, that doesn't meet the zoning bylaw at that point.
So the intent of that statement was not to allow for the applicant to build a new building. That was not the intent. It was simply trying to be straightforward
Yeah.
about a project of this type, that depending on who the builder is, they'll have a different opinion of what should be done. And if there were no special permits required here, if this was just an old house, and you said, I want to keep that kitchen wall because I don't want to pay for a new wall, but I've got to put 4 new windows in it and change the height of it, most builders would say, I understand, I'm giving you a new wall. It's quicker, simpler, and the end product will be better.
Mhm.
For a project like this, depending on who the builder is, they may have different opinions as to what is the most efficient way for them to do it. And that's the only reason why that statement was in there, because we don't know what the builder's opinion would be. But if you have an opinion as to what requirements you would place on it to allow your decision to stand within the context of an existing building, that's fine too. You know, it's not unreasonable for boards to put certain constraints based upon percentages of a building to remain for it to be classified as an existing building. My experience in Concord is that that is a gray area. Other towns, like Weston, have very specific requirements about a certain percentage and require documentation of that. And every town is different. My experience in Concord is that it is not so definitive. But it doesn't mean, from my perspective anyways, that it would be inappropriate for you to discuss that in however you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I would, if we get that far, before I would vote on any of this, I would like to have very detailed plans on what of the structure is saved and whether it's still gonna be the existing building. Because if it's not the existing building, you know, 4221 goes by the wayside, right? If it's not the existing building. So I want to understand what there is of the existing building on that one. I still, you know, I don't often disagree with Elizabeth, but I do disagree with her on this one. So I would, you know, Elizabeth, would it be appropriate to ask town council for an opinion on 4221, whether this whether it has to be 2 units in a single building, or whether we can have 2 residential units on a lot?
Yes.
Good, and then the 1/5, I'm sure town council could also weigh in on. Whether we can, I mean, although it's clear, I think, for us, but I think while he's at it or she is at it, actually, that will be, would be appropriate, I think.
Yes, for one other, can the building department define what constitutes a reconstruction beyond reconstruction into a new building? Because he's got to bring it all the way up to code, so he's got to change, there are no systems here, so everything's got to be new.
Right.
The structure has to be brought up to code, the insulation, all the other energy efficiencies would have to be in place for this.
Yeah.
So there may be other impacts here that we don't see, that there's clearly, you know, there may be benchmarks that say, you know, if you replace more than X amount of a system, we're installing a new system, you are, for all intents and purposes, a new building. Not because you're changing use and you're rebuilding, there might be some threshold that's known, that's applied. I don't want to set a precedent here, I want to find out if there's detail that we can feed into that.
Kevin, are you still
So-
here?
It is a change of use. It's a new, you'd be
So,
creating.
hang on, Kevin. So that for everybody in the audience, this is Kevin Pickering. You're still the assistant, or are you the new building inspector?
Acting building.
Acting.
So-
Commissioner.
It would be creating a new dwelling unit. So you'd have to meet the standards of new construction from the energy code perspective. You need a HERS rating. It'd have to be all electric to follow the fossil fuel prohibition bylaw that Concord has. So because it's a change of use, there's very little that you, from the building code perspective, you treat as existing to create habitable space. The structure itself is one thing. I think Paul brings a good point that buildings get updated and repaired over time, and there really is no language in any building code that says you have to do things within a certain time frame. So you could completely replace every framing member of a house or a structure over time. But yet it still remains the same building. But if we're talking about a garage going to a dwelling unit, then we're looking at it from a new construction perspective to be able to create the habitable space, to condition it to today's standards, because it's new in that regard. So I hope that answered the question.
Does the foundation make a difference? You have a totally new foundation and you have some framework. Yes, you're moving the framework, but does that trigger?
I mean, if the you know, you're putting it on a new foundation, but the foundation is not really part of the living space.
Right.
So that wouldn't really, you know, become, you know,
Material.
yeah, material issue. Yeah.
Can I ask
Sure,
you-
Paul, go ahead.
So, I mean, I'm figuring this out too, as I'm listening. So I agree with what Kevin's saying. When you do new things, you have to comply with the code. I think this question gets back to the definition of 4.2.2.1, which I think would be good to understand the precedent and also the town council's opinion, because that simply says, use of a building existing at the time its lot is placed in service. It doesn't say use of a garage, use of an office building, use of a residential dwelling. It just says a building. So I think that the new building code would apply to new things in that building. It wouldn't necessarily apply to the structure, other than if you are changing loads in the structure. You know, a hayloft is built for whatever many pounds per square foot, and you put a different use in there, you're not gonna store pianos up there at that same load, so you might have to like reinforce things, but you wouldn't necessarily have to change the structure, you might add to the structure so the spans are shorter. Anyways, my big point is that I think that there isn't clear definition on this, that you can just say because you're changing the use, therefore it's no longer an existing building. I don't think those overlap each other.
I mean, it says alteration and use, but if you look at the language in 715, it says reconstruction, extension, alteration, or structural change. So, you know, if there's a meaning to alteration versus reconstruction or structural change, then that might inform kind of the scope of what you can and can't do here.
We could get you examples of that. 4221 has been used in Congress
Yeah.
many times in order to put a living unit in what was originally a barn or garage or an accessory structure. The exceptions have been when somebody tries to come along and use a chicken coop as an existing structure for the purpose of creating a new dwelling unit. But if it was a substantial structure, it's been uniformly interpreted to allow that existing structure to be converted into at least a single family dwelling on a lot that already has on it another dwelling.
I would.
And one good example is the property right next door to me, where that property was a house and a carriage house that was converted some years ago into the rear house, was converted into a dwelling unit. They are on the same lot, and the owner then turned it into condominiums. So they are two separate dwelling units on one lot that are in separate ownership on what was originally a single lot. And it's not unusual in this neighborhood to have multifamily dwellings. The house across the street is a 2-unit side-by-side condo. Of course, Concord, Everett Gardens, of course, is, you know, dozens of multifamily units on a single lot. And so, and there are other 2-family condos in this neighborhood, but put aside the issue of what a existing building is in terms of, you know, the rebuilding the boat with, it's all new planks and all new nails, but it changed over time. But if it is an existing structure, it's always been interpreted in Concord at least to allow that structure to be converted into a separate dwelling unit, not subject to 4222, but under 4221 as a single or 2-family dwelling.
And we are gonna get confirmation, if that's the case, we're gonna get confirmation from town council on that one. I do think I do need to understand more whether this is an existing structure when everything, this is the old structure when everything is said and done. Because that's, you know, if this is not, and you know, that's where I think all you need to do some work. And it need to get a structural report and then determine what, if anything, of this building is still viable and part of the new residence. So that we can determine whether it really is the existing structure that's out there. And then there were some other questions. You have your hand up for a long time, and although public comment has been closed, I'll give you
I appreciate
2
that.
seconds.
Just two things. One is when the structure was placed in service versus what the covenants say about not allowing any other structure on that property. And the second is the carriage house next to him was not moved. It was where it was, and they did it right there. And this is being moved. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Theo, can we get his name and address, please?
Name and address
I'm
again.
sorry, Nat Welch, 141 Stowe Street.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, do we wanna? Anything else on 4221 that we want to discuss? We're gonna go to town council. We get more documentation from the applicant on, and that is needs to be very extensive. I think we need to understand, is this still gonna be the existing structure, right? Or is it just like, you know, a couple of beams and then the rest is new? You know, that's not the existing structure. So, and the question is just by moving, is that gonna be the existing structure? You know, that would be something that we still need to discuss. Any additions shall not exceed in all 1/5 of the gross floor area. That is as I think Elizabeth said, or Ravi said, that it doesn't appear that that's a waivable request, or waivable requirement. So,
Can I just ask, is the project viable if you were to stay within that limit?
We would have to figure that out.
No, I'm just saying, there's
No, I
nothing
know,
there.
some things are simple.
Yeah.
That I
Right.
can't say, yep, we can do that.
yeah. So that's.
Is that 1/5 still get you more than the 1,000-foot ADU?
Yes.
It does, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's then also something that needs, whether this can be brought back to below 1/5 of the gross floor area. On to the next one. On to 627. I just. Six to seven. Side yards, well, that's,
This one, oh, just this one's the easiest one to fix and.
I think it's if you're moving it and you're changing the use, you're gonna move it to within compliance. I mean,
Yeah.
That,
this
that
won't
is,
turn- It won't turn on this one.
yeah, so I think that's, I think with,
You have an opinion if it didn't move?
if it didn't move, do I have an opinion? Do we have an opinion?
It would be a non-compliance that remains unchanged.
Yeah,
I think you're adding
Except
height
the
in.
use has changed.
So I'm just taking one thing at a
Yeah.
time here, right?
Yeah.
If you don't move it, you haven't made that worse, you don't need any permission, you can leave it where it is.
right,
Right.
even if you were to change the use.
Right. And then the other side, it says, yes, you could move it, but let's be careful we don't move it and make the impacts to others worse. Right, so we want to understand what the effect is of a move. While it may make it compliant, it may make it more impactful, that's all.
Right,
Yeah.
well,
Two other-
since we're doing legalese stuff here, us architects, right? We wanna be compliant.
No, I
Move it,
agree.
right?
I'm just saying, you've got sort of three options. One, leave it as, move it a little bit, and two, move it into compliance. So just
Yeah,
be aware that we've got,
but yeah, if.
Dale, can I
Yeah,
add,
go ahead.
so if the proposal was to, because it is a legal non-conforming structure as it relates to setbacks. If the proposal was to convert it to a second dwelling unit and leave the structure where it is, the applicant would still be required to get a special permit under 4221 and 715 because of the dormers and the extension of that non-conforming structure.
Right,
yeah.
right,
Just the side yards, we took that in.
right, but then the side yard,
Everything else is still- yeah.
it's just, existing non-conforming. 6 to 13. Maximum floor area ratio.
Mr. Chair.
I do we punt on this until we have a 1/5
Or with verification of all the numbers.
Yeah.
and a verification of all the numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then your 1/5. Yeah, very quickly. Name and address.
Curtis Harrison, 155 Stowe Street. Why does 7.1.5 apply? I thought that applies to single and two-family residential structure. 1.5 is
That's not on our list. 7.1.3 is on the list. That's the next one.
Sorry, 713.
I think 715 would apply if you were staying where it is.
No, 71, he is correct. 715 deals with single and existing.
Oops,
You're cutting out,
you're
Elizabeth.
cutting out.
Oh. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, my apologies. 715 only deals with legal non-conforming single and two-family dwellings. 713 deals with legal non-conforming structures. So this is a legal non-conforming structure.
Okay.
Okay, and 7713 is also relatively straightforward in my mind, I think.
Well, so again, back to 627. There's more building over the 15-foot height limit. Oh, that's only if we have a 3-foot exception area, if they borrow this side yard, right?
Say again, which one was that?
The 15-foot height limit is only if they're borrowing 3 feet
67.
from the other side, which I guess we're not.
Got it.
Well, that is a suggestion, right, to borrow, but then you have a height limit if you borrow.
Yeah, right.
So that's,
I mean, I would just, my thoughts on the maximum floor area ratio, I think it was something like 10% over.
Right.
You know, yeah, I guess if we check and the numbers get better for you, great, but I would assume that you figured out the best number possible for their case, right? So taking that, I think the 10% over is larger than what we typically do there.
Yeah.
And then the reasonable alternatives analysis, I think there's been a suggestion that an ADU is a reasonable alternative here, so I think we have to work on concluding that that's not reasonable, right?
Yeah.
So.
no,
I think it's quite early, but it's 7% over ADUs in the town zone, because it's not 10%.
yeah.
So
Sure.
you have to confirm those numbers, so.
We will.
So there's a lot of people all talking at the same time,
Yeah, hang on.
and it makes it very challenging on Zoom.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so Paul, I think on your discussion here, I think you picked up, and I just want to make sure that indeed, one of the things that we need to conclude is reasonable alternatives, and indeed ADU would be a very reasonable alternative. So, that's a big hurdle to overcome then as well, in that 6.2.7.
Does that, like, the idea of a reasonable alternative, does that allow for the exclusion of part of the zoning code that exists that we could otherwise use? Like 4.2.2.1 suggests that we can use that building. And if we don't exceed a 20% extension to it, then I'm not sure why we need to propose a reasonable alternative with an ADU.
Well, I think you need a special permit to go over the max floor area ratio too. So even if you have one that doesn't exclude you from any other permit, you might trigger.
I guess I would look at that also relative to precedent. So if it's not unusual for special permits to be granted for a reasonable amount over the FAR, I could understand that. I'm not sure exactly what that percent is, but I could see that, like, is there an alternative here to make this less than 10.4% over? That sounds very reasonable to me. To say, show us what an ADU looks like as a reasonable alternative seems a bit extreme to me in relation to that analysis of why not 8% or 7%. And I don't know, I haven't done that sort of comparative to the numbers, but I know the ADU is much more restrictive on the square footage.
Yeah, 10,000, at the moment, 10,000 with a.
Yeah, no, I take your point. I think it's right. I mean, we're not looking at it as this versus the ADU. We're looking at it as this project is trying to achieve these goals, and can you do it?
Yep.
Achieve those three goals reasonably without going.
Yep.
Over the FAR.
It sounds like we need to understand more precedent.
We need to do a recap on what all we need to understand more. So I mean, obviously this is a meeting that it's gonna be continued. Question is, do we wanna do a site visit? On this, do we wanna check out the site? Looking at you, Stephen.
Seems like,
Yeah,
it seems like we
you might want
want to.
to, yeah.
And it is the threshold question, whether or not we're using 4.2.2.1?
That's for town council.
Right, like, I mean, is that we need to know that before we figure out the rest of the stuff? Because if we're not inside that, we're in a different.
We can run them in parallel.
Yeah, I think
We need to.
I think we need to do that stuff in parallel, just because, this is a process and we need to keep that going. We don't wanna do it one little step at a time. So that's also, I think, still why, I wanna do a site visit.
Great.
Where we wanna understand the site, where the building sits, where it's gonna be proposed, where we think it should sit if it moves. That stuff. And I think we need to get an opinion from town council. I think the applicant needs to do quite a bit of homework. We need to see some precedents. If they are precedents and maybe, and I don't want to give Elizabeth anything to do. Elizabeth, speak up.
So, at this point in time, I mean, I have detailed notes on what the board is asking of town council, which I can type up and send to the chair to review before I make that request of town council if that's acceptable.
Yeah, thank you. And then we need to understand, and you know, where, when this building is moved, what is from the existing building and what needs to be redone. And, you know, I think we need to do a bit of work there, and then Kevin and Stephen will really look into that, I think, as well.
I can tell you that you can build a building within a building, and you'll never know the difference.
Right.
So, you know, there is ways of.
No, and that's what Paul said, you know,
Yeah.
everything can be
Yeah.
done, right? As
Everything's
long as you throw enough money at it,
Yeah.
it can be done. So we need to, because we need, again, if we don't have an existing structure, 4.2.2.1 is out of the order. So, anybody else, any comments? Then I would like to hear a motion to well, we need to continue this to our meeting 7:35 on September 11. 7:35 will be the follow-up meeting, but do we set a time for a site visit as well?
Yeah.
I'm pretty flexible, so I'm looking at the people who have jobs here. I'd like to do it as a group. It's always better. I mean, we've done it individual, but as a group is always better. So
I can make pretty much anything work, so.
Tuesday morning, it's gonna be a little earlier. Tuesday mornings are good for me. If it can be a little later in the morning. Well,
what would work for you?
yeah, I think we usually do like an 8:30 or something in the morning.
I can actually do an 8. I think I'm usually the reason we do 8:30 because of school drop off,
Eight's
but
better.
I can do an 8.
8, yeah,
8 on Tuesday.
8, this coming Tuesday?
Oh, the 19th? Yeah,
You may
So
not
that-
need me out of
that's
town that
gonna-
day.
I don't think you
okay.
can do Tuesday at
Yeah,
8
wait,
because
no.
there's no way that Kim can get into the office, create the site visit note and get it to the town clerk's office.
Okay, so next,
Okay.
so the next Tuesday plus the 19th would be voting day as well.
26th.
26th.
26th,
Is that good for notice?
Oh, yeah.
What's over on?
Great, 8 AM.
yeah.
8 AM. We can do that.
Mhm.
26th.
26th at 8 AM.
No, the next day.
Okay.
Starts on Wednesday, yeah.
And then if we could get just stakes in the ground, please, Paul, for, you know, you don't have a don't need a surveyor, but you know,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever tape measure stuff,
Yep.
yeah.
Easy.
Okay.
Do you visit the abutter sites too?
We'll walk around and we might or might not, I mean, we won't walk on people's property if they're not there or if we don't have permission. And we might not, but you know, it is. We do like to get a good indication, visual of what this is gonna look like and from, you know, how it fits in the neighborhood. And, you know, and that is often just walking the street, not necessarily somebody's backyard, but just the street, definitely.
But we're not allowed to talk to people.
We can't.
Is that right?
And just so you.
It's important.
Yeah.
Right, you can't talk to them, that's fine.
Just so you know, when we're out on the site, we won't be discussing, we might be asking questions from the applicant, but there's no discussion, it's not a public hearing. we'll just ask questions and take it from
Yeah,
there.
it's the open meeting laws, so it's not that we don't like to.
No, I got it.
We just, but you can always submit your thoughts from the site visit through the website, and that, we've had that happen before, and that's helpful.
Right, would it be helpful if we wrote a letter inviting you to join us and we'll talk to you?
You wouldn't have to invite us to that track here. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know, I don't know, I'd like to
Write
keep
it
it
down.
to the,
Then
to the
it's open
property and
meeting,
the
it's
street.
for the public record.
I will do that.
Yeah,
We're so much
yeah,
happier.
yeah.
On you.
Yeah.
I would also,
Understand, unless you stand in his backyard. What he would use.
Sure.
You need to
Right.
go stand in his backyard to look over, you're thinking about actually living this.
but he can also submit a photograph from his backyard if he feels that there's something and he objects, he can.
Was that this? Oh, no,
This
it's
is- Well, no, but the
Okay.
same sense, that
Take a
you,
picture.
you could take a picture and submit it just like you would a letter. You can say, this is this is my opinion, here's a photograph of what I see.
But we'll look around, we'll be thorough, we promise.
I have a question about that. Can somebody go and do the measuring of the ceiling height while you're at the site visit? Can you bring like a person from the building department or the assessor?
No, I think the applicant, Paul, you've done all the measuring, so,
Heights
the heights and all, he's done all of that, yeah, so.
on the far thing, so we don't know what they are.
So I'm gonna once again,
So, yeah, we're
butt in.
gonna,
because
we-
people are
he-
talking without giving their name and address,
okay,
and public comment has technically been closed.
yeah, I know, but I like.
But I think it should be measured because we don't have any.
Yeah, and I think it is all measured and, yeah, no, we'll see then, I think it's somewhere, if it's not already on the website, Paul, the architect will provide it. Yeah. So that will be taken care of. Absolutely. With that, can I have a motion to continue this to September 11th at 7:35?
I don't know.
Okay. I can do it. I move that we continue the matter, brought by Paul Mahoney on behalf of Henry Dane for a special permit under zoning bylaw 4.2.2.1, 6.2.7, 6.2.13, 7.1.3, and 11.6 to allow the conversion of an existing carriage house with a non-conforming side setback to an additional dwelling unit that exceeds the allowable GFA and FAR at 60 Everett Street, continuing it to 7:35
At
on
September 11th.
Thursday, September 11th.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank-
Okay.
Let's hope we get some, you got work doing, let's hope we get also, town councils,
I'm in.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
All righty. Moving right
And I know, Elizabeth, that, there were some people talking, but I do, like to hear about us, just chime in, we try to streamline it a little bit, but I think it's important for them to say what they need to say or what they want to say, so.
Of
Okay.
course. So you could probably just leave public comment open and just make sure people say their name and address when they ask a question.
Yeah, but
Noted.
there's some
Noted.
structure, some structure. It's a 7:15, Fabio's Construction Inc. by Christopher J. Alphen Esquire on behalf of Nancy Johnson and James Reynolds, the owners, for special permit on a zoning bylaw section 715 and 11.6 to allow a 532 square foot addition to a 5,480 square foot single family dwelling on a legal non-conforming lot with a 14.3 foot front setback at 20 Darton Street. Anybody here?
Yes,
To
Mr.
speak for the
Chairman.
applicant?
For the record, Attorney
You
Christopher.
you were
Alpin.
awfully early.
Yeah.
to this here. You were the first one there.
And some of them take- And I'm sure you're exhausted with that complicated application before us. This should be a lot more simple to think about. For the record, my name is Attorney Christopher Alpin, Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein. My office is here in Concord. Also with me is the builder for the property owners. and the real estate broker for the property owners as well. We have a pre-existing non-conforming lot and a pre-existing non-conforming structure, and we're planning to do a minor addition, which requires a special permit. Elizabeth, if you could be so kind to bring up the proposed site plan, that's probably the easiest thing to visualize about what we're doing here. Perfect. So what we're doing here is right here, it's kind of gray in here, but you can see that there's an existing structure here. That's where the existing garage is. It's a 1-bay garage. We're gonna do renovations to redevelop that area and make a 2-bay garage right here. So that's a 1-bay garage going to a 2-bay garage. As you can see, we're not going too far out from the setbacks of the existing garage. And then we're also adding an additional living space right here, which is gonna be like a nice little living room with a fireplace. The only reason why we need a special permit, we could almost do this by right as an extension or addition to a pre-existing non-conforming structure. But because we're extending this way on a non-conformity of the front setback, because we're extending this way just a couple feet here, it triggers the need for the special permit. I don't know if it's maybe best, is we have a bunch of beautiful plans and architectural plans, but maybe the best way to view this is the cover page of the site plan, which I have right here. I don't know if it made it to the website or not, but this is what it looks like here. And you can see the garage that comes out here, the 2-bay garage, and then that's the living area right there. I don't know if we have that plan, but we have a bunch of floor plans and architectural plans on the website. So it's sort of minor. Again, we're not hitting FAR regulations. We're not hitting GFA regulations. It's just because we're expanding along a non-conforming setback. We need the need for the special permit. Obviously, we think that this is an improvement to the existing structure, that it's not going to be more detrimental to the neighborhood or anything like that.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I understand the request.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So let's ask whether there are any comments from the public before we go there. Somebody's having a hand up, and I think that's the same person that sent
The letter, yeah.
a letter that we got. So we got that, we understand it, we saw that, so that's a good thing. We have that in our files. But Mr. Whalen, go ahead if you want to say something else.
Sure. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. My name is James Whalen. I'm at 65 Dover Street. I guess basically what we, with addition to the letter, I think, again, we're not, we'd like the board to know that we don't necessarily oppose the special permit request, but again, we'd like the board to be aware of the fact that a significant flooding issue exists at that location. And it's currently under dispute. We in 2024, the abutters of Darton Street submitted a petition for temporary repairs to private ways in the White Pond watershed, which was signed at the time by owners of 62% of the lots which abut Darton Street. I guess what we are concerned about, and that we just want assurances from Fabio Construction, is that if you turn permeable surface area into impermeable in the extension of a roof, or any type of area where runoff worsens at the intersection. Right now, the north side of Darton Street is where 20 Darton Street exists, and there is not, we just want to make sure there's a drainage plan off that new roofing that would not necessarily increase any runoff to our location, basically on the south side of Darton and Dover, where it's kind of a downhill grade. So any water or increase in water in the north side of Darton is definitely going to increase the flooding in our location. And we're working right now with the town, just to give you an update of where we're at. We have an in-place drainage that we had an engineer. I personally paid for an engineer to come out in about 14 years ago. John Shipe, he designed an in-place infiltration system. So basically the water just comes to these drainage pits and they disperse under the ground. The town came in later with this petition, did their own survey, and said that the best way to kind of get rid of this water definitively is to pipe it to another location. The problem, there's two problems there, is that one, this was done during a period when Darton Street, the location of 20 Darton Street was as is. Fabio had done some refurbishing on the house, but he hadn't expanded the non-permeable surface area. And so right now we have a cost. We're in kind of a negotiation with the town. The town is good enough to use ARPA funds from COVID to design. They designed another solution where the water would be piped up Darton to another location through an easement, actually, that Jim Reynolds was nice enough to give us into a pit area. Although that cost significantly increased, somewhere in the area from 80,000 to 350,000. So we came back to the table as a petitioner group.
I'm gonna cut you off here. Sorry, Mr. Whalen. It's getting late and we're not done here yet. So we want to, your comments are appreciated, but they need to be focused on this special permit application. So.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would just add, you know, we don't have a proposal that's gonna make the stormwater and flooding worse. And of course, we're concerned, as Mr. Whalen is concerned, about the flooding in Dartmouth Street. That easement that was given by the town was given by my client to help the cause, so.
Yeah, I mentioned Jim Reynolds was nice enough to do that, absolutely.
Yeah.
But sir, you're not an engineer. You're a lawyer.
Excuse me?
No, the gentleman who just spoke, he's the lawyer.
Okay. But yeah, I want to focus this on the request that is made here by the applicant on you know the addition of the house as it impacts the non-conformity of the lot. One of our standard conditions, and you might have heard me mention that earlier tonight, is that any increase of impervious area needs to be dealt with some sort of a stormwater management system, you know, and then there is several options, whether, you know, you have pits, whether you have perforated pipes or any of that stuff, that's commonplace right now. And, you know, we got that in here because one of the things we need to assess here in order to give a special permit is the adequacy of utilities and other public services. Obviously, the town is not able here to, the situation here is not, the public stormwater utility service is not what it should be. And so
the public stormwater won't apply because it's a private way.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't apply in this situation.
So we will, you know, our standard condition is that any increase of impervious area needs to be managed by infiltration and detention and or retention. So
the parcel.
Of the parcel.
Stormwater not supposed to leave the parcel.
Right, and stormwater shouldn't be leaving the parcel. And I think, you know, I actually was out on the road today. I saw the house and you know, there's ample area where it can be done. It's just all subsurface. So, but yeah, dealing with stormwater is a common thing that we people do these days. So they will get that condition. So. Anybody else from the public wanting to say something? Elizabeth, go ahead.
I did want to point out that the proposed site plan for the project does not show any change to the single garage driveway. And if that is in fact the situation, or whether they do plan on installing a much wider driveway, which that would also have the plan should be revised to show that, and that added driveway should also be managed as far as the runoff going, not going towards Darton Street.
No change to the driveway, excuse me.
No change to the driveway. Good, but
So
any
the driveway is only gonna go to one garage bay, and there's gonna be no driveway to the second garage bay?
It's gravel there and it's gonna stay gravel.
Yeah, so it's pervious.
It's already
Oh,
gravel.
it's gravel.
It's already there.
So
it's gravel, which I can attest to, I saw.
Oh.
So,
no impervious there.
no impervious increase, but they need just a building increase that needs to go into a pipe system or infiltration system, so. Okay, not seeing any other public comments, I will close the public hearing, public comment section of this hearing. Bring it back to the board and see what the board likes to do. What is their fancy?
You can make a motion.
Yeah,
Question?
no, I think, it's not increasing the nonconformity, and so it meets our standard for the bylaw otherwise, and I think with this condition, our standard condition that the additional impervious or the additional roof be infiltrated on the parcel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully that addresses the public concern here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looked like it was sandy soils by my untrained eye, but
Yeah, it is.
so
Okay,
motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that we grant with our standard conditions to a special permit to Fabio's Construction Inc. The matter brought by Christopher J. Alphen Esquire on behalf of Nancy Johnson and James Reynolds for a special permit under zoning bylaw section 7.1.5 and 11.6 to allow a 532 square foot addition to a 5,480 square foot single dwelling on a legal non-conforming lot with a 14.3 foot front setback at 20 Darton Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to call a 5-minute recess.
Okay. You deserve it. That's reasonable. Thank you so much. This is the only time I fit for 2 hours.
If you're sitting.
Well, stormwater is just gonna go into the White Pond anyway, so.
Well,
It all just flows right into the.
well,
But.
they don't want to exacerbate the flooding, but I think.
Well, it's parcel, this little extension runs right down into the depression.
Right, that's huge.
And that, she was saying the intersection is flooding, but this is all.
I think it's the intersection on the other
On the other
side.
side?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause that's a property.
Yeah, we did. I like your other choice.
I'm not sure, there is another, yeah, there might be one in between and then,
Yeah, it's all dirt roads on.
yeah, that's not,
This
that's
is,
not paved, yeah.
it's not paved, that's not paved, that's vacant.
Shore Drive is paved.
Process.
Yep.
Process.
Yeah.
Our responsibility, but not of word, because. Check the line. That's okay. Alex, anyone's, yeah, maybe just started, just started.
Yeah, I think we gotta put some guardrails in this one. Or at least some knowledge.
Yeah, a little bit of framework.
Okay, are we unmuted? Yes, we are unmuted. Good, good, good. We're back. Last item, last public hearing on the agenda tonight is at 7:20. Jeffrey D. Cronin and Joshua Norton, trustees, being the applicant on behalf of Philip S. McCoy Esquire, being the owner, for a special permit under zoning bylaws sections 4221 and 11.6 to demolish the existing 2,183 square foot single-family dwelling and construct a new 6,716.5 square foot two-family dwelling at 1606 Main Street. Who is here to speak on behalf of the applicant? Please present.
Okay, so I'm Josh Lawton. So just a little history, I guess, on how we got here. So, the owners had contracted with an architect to do some, substantial renovation work to this house and updates and improvements along with an addition. The architect went out, decided that that wasn't really feasible, had that conversation with the homeowners. He brought it to our attention. We've worked together in the past. We've done a number of single family homes in Concord. And so this might be a good opportunity to redevelop the site into a, large single family home. According to the, max FAR, we've got 7,269 square feet that we worked with based on what's there for the house and based on lot size. So we considered that. And then as we thought about it more, we thought, there's actually kind of a special opportunity here with the special permit to do a two-family, duplex structure, which we think has a couple benefits. One, we brought the square footage in, under what the maximum is. In designing a two-family house, based on the slopes of the land that you can see with our house plan, it allows us to lower the unit in the back, so it's not as imposing of a structure from the street. It also allows us to provide 2 units instead of 1 at a lower cost point to the end user. So rather than going into the market with, let's say, 4,500 square foot single family home, we've got 2 units that are a little bit shy of 3,000 square feet each. That'll bring it down closer to sort of the average sale price in Concord, instead of a higher end house. So we think it presents, a more affordable opportunity. I mean, Concord's not affordable really, but it's a more affordable opportunity for somebody to get into it. So we tasked the architect with going back and coming up with this two-family design. Some of the cues we gave him, which we think he hit, where we wanted to make sure we stayed within all the setbacks. We didn't want to exceed any FAR, so we weren't asking for any relief on that. Wanted to make sure that the 2 stories, that structure in the front that we created, the max height wasn't going to surpass others on the street, particularly the house right next door to us, which is a 2.5 story structure already. We didn't want the garages facing the street, so those are tucked down on the side. And what else? All setbacks. Yeah, so that was kind of it. So that's sort of how we landed with this plan, with this design and this proposal for doing a two-family unit instead of single. I'll let you take it from here, Joe.
Yeah, that's really our only request. There's no other special pieces to this. We think the design we have, which is compliant with the neighborhood. We've built over 20 houses in Concord. They were in the application, actually the addresses, so it's easy to see we build stuff that really fits nicely in the neighborhood. We've used a local architect, Lee Stone, to do a lot of them. So they're compliant with the neighborhoods. We don't do McMansions. We just finished a house on Prairie Street, which ended up about 3,000 square feet. And we've done houses, we did the first 2 houses on Conant Street. We're the ones who turned that whole area for the first time. They're both in the park there, very tastefully done. So we think we have a nice design, and we think we have a good economic proposition. As Josh said, it's really, I was born in Concord. I probably lived in this town longer than anyone that's been in this room tonight. But we do reasonable stuff, and we think that these houses would be priced below anything that would be for sale as new construction in West Concord, which is now really pretty much at the 2 million mark. We might be the last people who sold a house for less than 2 million. We did a study before we did Prairie Street, just because we always do our homework. We looked at 154 houses in all the streets in that area. And, 23 have been constructed new since 2020. And the average square footage is about 3,600. So these two units would be, a little bit less than 3,000, take the garages out. So it's not anything that's out of proportion with the neighborhood. And because there's a nice grade in the back, as Josh mentioned, the second unit is not all that, would not be all that visible from the street. We have gotten some other comments about trees and stuff like that, but we always comply with NRC. And we won't do anything that would cause any, and maybe we'll even do some things that would accommodate the abutters if we get approval for this. We always meet with the abutters and try to be good neighbors because it's always disruptive for anything going on next to your property.
Thank you. Yeah, we had quite a few letters from about us in on this. We had a letter from the Historic Commission, was the Historic Commission in on this, so you know, that all goes back to fitting into the neighborhood, right? So we wanna be really mindful there whether this would fit in the neighborhood, into the neighborhood or not. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from members here? If not, I'll just,
I mean, I was just gonna say, I think that a lot of the comments speak to scale and mass, and I think that's a concern. I think there is while there is a large house on one side, it's a 4x4 square. So it is high and has a larger mass, but its parcel is wider. I think one of the concerns here is the width of the house, that yes, the property does go down, so you have lots of land. But the presence on the street, how it affects the neighbors, because right next to it, if you have a house that's of a similar size, probably both a similar age, or the capes were probably made at the same time.
These capes, that house would actually be taller than ours would be.
Yeah, but it just, I think we need to look at it. I think.
yeah, no, absolutely. This is called for a site visit no matter what. Yeah, but you know, this is and we're already discussing instead of, no, but instead of outgoing question, you know, but because, you know, what I also always what's always for me is very tricky. It's like, you know, if we, for instance, said we're not approving this because it's just the two-family thing and we're not approving this. They can, for instance, say, well, we're not doing a two-family, we're gonna do a big single family, and then the special permit is gone, right? A big single family also doesn't approve, same with the neighbors. Right, this little house can stay the same, but the neighbors could knock theirs down and build something bigger without coming to it. So it's like, you know, we gotta be very fair here on what we do and now. So, but I do wanna go.
I did have one question, which is, just confirming that the lot is conforming and that the structure is the current structure is conforming.
There are two structures on the lot that are in the setback, so those we would remove their sheds. Both
The
sides.
sheds are the ones, right, but not the main house.
Yeah, we'll take out those non-conformations.
Okay.
Is there a grading plan? Do you have a grading plan? Tell us what the.
Stamsky McNeary is our engineers.
Okay.
And if we don't have it, we should have that, and then maybe.
Yeah, if you need a better level of detail, I can get that from there.
Please, and if you could, or just get it to planning, and then we can put it on the website if you know, that's good. Elizabeth, you had a question, comment?
To Robbie's question, the existing single-family dwelling is non-conforming to one of the side yard setbacks.
So do we trigger 7.1.5 then? Cause isn't this a reconstruction of a non-conforming?
It's a demo, it's a complete demo, so it's a fresh start.
Yeah, we'll be all within the setback.
Yeah. I think in the past, we've treated a complete demo. I think it was the Concord Culinary Homes or one of those where we treated a complete demo as a reconstruction under 715.
Well, it wouldn't be a only if they were requesting some type of relief. So as I understand it,
So as long as the new one's in the setbacks, we don't have to worry about the old one encroaching, right?
So the proposed two-family dwelling is proposed to meet all of the required setbacks.
Okay, so it's not relevant then that the existing one is within the setback, okay.
Correct, it is not.
Yes, Liz is right. Part of the house is in the setback and there are two outbuildings.
Okay.
So that would.
All that would be correct.
But to Stephen's point, the application material does not include any grading plans.
We can get that from stairs.
No, okay, yeah, and you know, if you have any stormwater management plans for them, as well.
They actually suggested to me that you might want us to put in a dry well, but we'll go through that.
Yeah, but yeah, can we get something on the plan? I mean, I'm not a stickler for that stuff, but I do wanna have something on a plan and something visible, and also, you know, the neighbors would wanna see that, so we can point that to them. Yeah.
It's also the lot is 25,000 square feet, so it's pretty sizable for West Concord. So it's not unusual, and there are 13 two-family homes within 700 feet of this house, not including the multifamily dwellings a little bit up the hill. So it's not something that's uncommon in that area.
And besides that, the town asked for that, right, by changing the zoning bylaw.
And
So,
again, our thought was, this was a way to have something that's 2 units that are more affordable rather than one that's.
affordable, right? So, but I still want to go to the public, see whether there is any public comment here. We know we got a lot of letters in, so we have those. And I can't read the name from here. Alan, I think, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Alan Bogosian, 1624 Main Street. I'm also on the planning board, but I'm speaking as an abutter. So I live approximately 200 feet from their lot line. Second house, if you're looking at the street to the left. And as I mentioned to another committee, the Historical Commission, last week, there are approximately 5 houses within 200 feet of the proposed renovation. And the average of those 5 houses are approximately 1,800 square feet. And what they're proposing is a 2-family, each consisting of 3,500 square feet, or close to 3,500 square feet, which would bring it to almost 7,000 square feet. So that 7,000 square foot structure will dwarf, you know, the 5 houses that are close by to it in size, and also with the sun. So I just wanted to say that. And the other issue that the Historical Commission is working on is they're in the middle of a historic preservation plan. And they're trying to figure out is if this is what West Concord is really trying to do moving forward, to have structures like this in West Concord. You know, a 6,600 square foot structure, just dwarfing littler houses. So if you look at those 5 houses within 200 square feet of this structure, and there aren't a whole lot of big houses in this neighborhood. I've been here for close to 35, 36 years now, and we don't have big houses here on Main Street.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. Anybody?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out I can't find raise my hand.
Okay.
I'm very sorry.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead, name and address, please.
So my
for the
name is
record.
Melissa Saalfield. I live at 7 Concord Green, West Concord. I am a longtime member of the Historical Commission, but I cannot speak on their behalf. I know that we have submitted a letter, but I am speaking in support of what Alan is talking about. There's a big concern here in West Concord that they're tearing down smaller homes to build much larger homes and changing the character of this community. We are very concerned about the change. This gentleman has suggested that these properties will be affordable. I think that's questionable. Anything in Concord, there's virtually nothing in Concord under $1 million unless it's Concord Green, and those are creeping up too. So I'm just speaking out on my concern that this property will, as Alan says, and I would agree, dwarf the other reasonably sized homes in that street along Main Street. And I mean, this isn't time and place, I suppose, but I'm just going to bring up the 1440 Main Street, which has just been denuded of any trees for a very large development that will also strongly change the character of West Concord. So just want to
Great,
speak.
thank you. Okay, thank you for your comments. Anybody else wanting to speak on this application? Seeing no hands, seeing nobody, then I'll bring it back to the board and see what we want to discuss. Who? No, I was waiting for that, but we have this.
Mr. Ellis.
Miss Alice, okay, yeah, I was wondering whether you wanted to say something. We have your letter, so, and it's late. Just hinting.
Yeah, just real quick, just to double down on what you heard from Alan and from Melissa. We have done through the.
Can we have your name and we have your name? We need your address.
Excuse me, Doug Ellis, 11 Concord Green, Unit 1. Yeah, I did write the letter. Just the whole character of West Concord will be affected. We get a lot of feedback from people of the town that this is just really the type of thing that they're seeing that they don't want to see happen, especially in West Concord. So just wanted to make sure that everybody heard that.
Yeah, no, Mr. Bogosian, you heard me just say that it's late, so go ahead very quickly.
No, I just want to make the point that there are no existing structures like this in West Concord that would be of this size. Even the 25 new houses that they're putting in at 1452 are not this size.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Now bringing it back to the board. We decided, I think we want to do a site visit. We decided we need some more information. And anything else, or is there anything that you say like, well, this is a hard one, no matter what?
I mean, I think this is gonna come down to neighborhood character on the special permit factors.
Yeah, no.
You know, that's why I was asking about the nonconformity, because I just wanna make sure we're not looking at any substantial detriment standard. It doesn't look like that is a standard that has to be met here, so.
Right.
To me, it's weighing the neighborhood character impact here.
Right, but then also, you know, as it weighing the neighborhood character as it pertains to town meeting vote where we need to increase density in town.
Right, I think.
Right, and it's like, so that's.
The impact on community needs is another factor where I think it weighs
Right.
the other way, where it's
Right.
having 2 units instead
Right.
of 1 big house.
Right, and that's,
It's the other thing we're weighing, right?
that's the other thing, I think, you know, was made clear that, you know, this building might come down and a big building is gonna be built no matter what.
Yeah.
They don't get a special permit.
That it was a better use of the land, with better promises.
Yep. And you know, so, you know, that I think is something we need to work through, and we need to, I know we had some comments from the neighbors and that they wanna be heard on the next meeting. which we will do, but I think we need to indeed understand what the neighborhood character is and what can be done by right on this lot and on the lots next door. Because sooner or later, they're gonna be sold and, you know,
Right,
what's gonna
right,
happen on
agreed.
those lots.
Yes.
You know, that, you know, it's. It's just, I see, you know, all of them. It's not like this neighborhood. It's like, you know. My next door neighbor's house got knocked down, was a nice one-story, sort of. Wasn't necessarily mid-century model, but close to it, and now it is a big. Contemporary 3-story. It's like, yeah, that happens. So it's changing character, but. Yeah, so we need to work through that. So, site visit. Do you want it the same Tuesday morning?
No.
I can only do one that day, I should get work.
Hey, retire.
Got a few years before that happens.
So when do we want to do that then?
Tuesday the 2nd,
That's the day after Labor Day.
correct?
It's just,
Business is happening?
yeah. Just want to make sure that nobody's on vacation or wanting to sleep in after Monday or Friday.
Well,
The 2nd at 8 AM?
works for me.
2nd at 8 AM, we would like to do a site visit, Mr. Applicants. If that's okay, if you could stake out, some building corners, that would be terrific.
Yeah.
As I already said earlier, you know, you don't need to necessarily, don't want to run up costs. You don't need to get a surveyor out to do that exactly, but, you know, tape measure, couple of guys, girls, and just set corners out so that we have a little bit of bearing of where the building is gonna be at.
Yeah, we can have Stamsky do that. We won't wing it. We can have
It's
Stamsky.
wing,
Flags while they do the grading counts.
Great.
okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Good.
Okay, beautiful. So that's great,
Okay,
So
so we're continuing.
we're continuing to,
Great. 7:40?
yeah, we're continuing to 7:40 on, the 11th.
Okay, I move that we continue the application of Jeffrey D. Cronin and Joshua Naughton, trustees, the applicants on behalf of Philip S. McCoy Esquire, the owner for a special permit under zoning bylaw 4.2.2.1 and 11.6 to demolish the existing 2,183 square foot single-family dwelling and construct a new 6,716.5 square foot two-family dwelling at 1606 Main Street.
Getting a second, right?
Second.
Second, and before we vote on this, we asked for building corners to be staked. Do you want to have a pole for the height?
Oh, yeah,
If-
that's not,
Yeah, if you can have like a pole height stake, so sort of center,
I don't know.
Well, there's probably one in the front, one in the back, right?
or one in the front, one in the back, yeah, what?
You got two different houses.
The full height pole. Yeah,
So that we see the height, I think that's important.
yeah, I think it's 34 feet or something.
34 feet, but you know, I don't know whether you're even digging in the back. But
Yeah.
Stamsky will be a friend again. On that one.
All right.
we just need it that day. We don't need it to be solid enough
Yeah, yeah.
to stay up through winter or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Flag.
No flag.
Yeah, so
Good.
second, all in favor? Alright, so thank you, continue, we'll see you, we'll see you on the 2nd and then on the 11th.
Okay, great.
I hung a balloon once for a project on 184. And it got dew on it,
Oh.
so the balloon is like.
Yeah, it feels like a balloon, it's tough with it.
Yeah.
Great.
Well,
Yeah, they
but
put up a pole like
but
that.
I was 60 feet, so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think Windmill Hill, they did a pole that worked pretty well.
So.
This was a lively meeting.
We're not even done yet, we're not even done yet.
I love those minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband was like, really, you're gonna be home by 8:30? Really?
Yeah, I know, I knew that. So we have two more items on the agenda here tonight.
The minutes
We're not,
of July.
the minutes from July,
No additions.
no additions, no changes, we read them all, thank you,
Yep, we love them.
we love them,
I'll
so
vote to approve the minutes.
you make a
I
motion.
make a motion to approve the minutes.
The motion, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, morning, administrative business, the ZBA membership discussion, and thank you so much for Wendy for being here all evening, just to be able to speak on this. This is, one thing I want to say, and I just said it, it's like, gosh, I wish Tom was here for this.
I know.
Tom would be,
I'm
this,
not-
he'd be, this will be just right up his alley, so. That said, we miss Tom.
I was missing his voice tonight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we have, and this, Wendy brought this all up, and brought us to our attention that the board, the select board had asked the various boards and commissions to update and look at their regulations, the charter, et cetera. And I didn't even know this was out there, so I didn't.
It wasn't, it was a struggle.
Yeah, so I didn't take any action, but Wendy did. So Wendy dug this out, and looking at this, I think it could use an update. I mean, I'm sure you all read it, and it's not really, I think we need to rewrite it or retype it almost, because I don't think content-wise, and I'm looking at you, there was much to add or change. We need a new date on it. And most important part is that it says there's 3 members and 6 associates and 3 members and 5 associates. Our website says that we have 3 members and 3 associates. And by state law, we can have up to 5 official voting members.
I think it's 3 or 5.
It's 3 or 5.
Oh, right.
3 or 5. So, I don't know what that does. I've always understood on this board, and I've been, I don't want to say reprimanded at one point when it was early on, that we always vote unanimously. If we don't vote unanimously, something doesn't pass. I was told that, whether that's correct or not.
I heard that as a custom, but not a
That's,
requirement.
okay, that's a custom,
If
because
if the board
Go
is a 3-member board, you
Yeah.
are required to have a unanimous vote.
okay, because that's where I
Okay.
was going, so that,
If you
so.
were 5, it would be different.
So with 5, that
Yes.
would be different,
Yeah.
but is it then, do you then need a super majority? Or,
That I'd have to look into, because the Board of Appeals
right,
has never been a 5-member board. It's always been a 3-member board.
right, and then if you are a 5-member board, like, we only have 4 members now, wouldn't we be able to have a meeting? Or do we need to have 5 members every time? Okay.
So it's my
You just have a
understanding,
quorum.
so it's my understanding, if you are a 3-member board, that all decisions have to be unanimous. If you are a 5-member board, I believe special permits and variances require supermajority. I would have to look into that. So you would need 4 out of 5. If you are a 5-member board, you would have 5 full members and however many associates, 3 associates. So, so at any one time, a quorum is for your board. If it were a 5-member board, I believe a quorum would have to be 4. Because regardless of how many board members are present, you are a 5-member board and you would have to have a supermajority to approve special permits and variances.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we
Three and three
stay a
makes sense.
three-member board.
3 and 3,
I think
Yeah.
3 and 3 makes sense because
we're not gonna build
You're hard to
5 or 6
fill in three.
associates.
right, 5 or 6 associates is out of the question and, um. Yeah, at least now with the 4 of us, we have a margin of error,
Mhm.
right? If we had a 5-member board, we, there's no margin of error, it's us, right?
Yeah,
So, I don't know, do we vote? I'm looking at you because you know it all.
I mean, it probably is worth it. The other concern with the charges, you gotta figure out, do you still wanna stay with 3 associate members or change that? If 3 and 3 works, then that's fine.
No, I think 3 and 3 work, I mean, we can't even fill 3.
we
Right.
may at some point.
We're
find-
working on it, we're working on
We
it,
should
but
leave
I
it
think,
three.
I think on the.
Yeah, leave it as
Right.
3 and then.
Leave it as, because even if you sit here with 6 on, I mean, it is. I don't wanna say unruly, but it's a big, you know,
Yeah, I don't think more adds anything to the.
right.
But if
right.
we came across someone who wanted to join, I think having that 3rd seat available might be helpful as an associate. So if we stayed with 3 associates and 3 full members,
Yeah.
I like the flexibility.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
And we just make different rules about meetings or, you know.
Yeah, good, we'll stay with 3 and 3, and I don't know, do we need as a board need to vote on that?
Or
or-
do you need to make revision, are there other revisions to the charge?
I was
I mean,
gonna say,
you've read it.
why don't we just write it up and then we
It's
can
an
vote.
opportunity to look at it and it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it's a 1-pager,
I know.
and it's what we do. I mean, it's not, you know,
I mean, the officers make sense too, right?
yeah. I didn't see anything else other than changing type font, the
So,
date
can you
and.
Speak to, who you look for skill sets on your board. Some charges too, if that's something that you want to consider.
Huh, well, I don't know, I think it's kind
You don't have
of
to.
self-selecting. It's either lawyers or land or garden people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, the architect right out there.
Land, sorry,
Not buildings.
Buildings. Buildings. I'm really tired. I'm tired.
I mean,
Sorry, or engineers.
yeah.
I do have I have a nibble from a landscape architect. He's not hooked yet. but-
Who is he? Where is he?
He's a hacker, Jeff Alls. He doesn't really work a lot locally, but it's, he's been here for 3 years now.
Good.
Landscape architect.
All right, well.
You can argue about things.
Yeah, good. So,
Just write it up, circulate it, and then we vote on it.
Yeah, your next
Great.
meeting.
I love it.
Please.
Versus-
Thank you.
can I request you to retype this 1-pager?
I
And
think the OCR probably, but.
So-
So I could remember things.
So just so I can clarify, so retyping the board's charge and then the board is going to review it and then make a recommendation to the select board to adopt a new charge.
That sounds right.
Reaffirm.
that sounds very
Reaffirm a
official.
charge.
We don't have to vote, we just have to
Sure.
make recommendations.
Bureaucratic.
Okay. What Kim and I can do is we can also look at a couple of other communities, similar
good
communities and
idea.
their Board of Appeals charges to make sure with all the changes in state law and all of this and that. I'm not aware of anything changing for Board of Appeals, but we can look into that.
Great.
Terrific,
Yeah,
terrific.
great. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you for taking on more work.
Anytime.
All right.
So, excellent. That all being said, meeting adjourned?
Adjourned.